Hello and welcome to the Two Man Power Trip of Wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today is a very special guest, the former NWA World Television Champion, former OVW World Champion, former OVW TV Champion, former OVW Tag Team Champion. He is, of course, formerly known as Elijah Burke. He is the Pope. Pope, welcome to the Two Man Power Trip. How you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for having me aboard. I'm always going to be Elijah Burke, by the way. That's Pope's birth name, so I can't escape that.
Yeah, that's true.
But all is well in the hood, as I like to say. Everything is good, and I'm just blessed to be here and have one more opportunity to speak with someone like you about the world of professional wrestling.
Nice, good stuff. Before we kind of get into the wrestling stuff, what's going on with the Love Alive charity and kind of everything you're doing over there?
Well, speaking of the Love Life charity, the first thing I want to do is thank you for um, supporting our cause, and our cause is simply to be the change that we wish to see in the world. So we uh, take care of, help, assist the homeless and in need community of Jacksonville, Florida. We have our 10th year anniversary coming up, where we will hold our 10th annual Love Drive. Our Love Drives are basically where we do what I just explained. We assist, we feed. We don't feed out of a soup truck. We don't feed out of a brown paper bag. We feed them directly out of Burger King, hot burgers, hot sandwiches, chicken sandwiches, whatever. Okay, then we have a slew of other things that we provide them with. We provide them with clothes, shoes, new items as well, not just donated clothes, which we do accept. We have book bags filled with the necessary tools for kids to achieve academic success to help them. And then we also have hygiene products, blankets for those that are on the street, and the list goes on and on. So it's something that I've taken much pride in since its establishment in 2011. And we're still kicking, we're still chugging along. I like to refer to it as a mom and pop organization. We're not funded by the government nor the city.
Yep.
We've been funded directly out of Pope's pocket and those who believe in this cause. So I thank you again. And if there's anybody that listening to this right now that wish to support our cause, you can visit love-alive.org. Okay, and there's a donate tab up there, and I always tell people $1 makes a difference. It don't matter, but $1 does make a difference. We spend more than that on the value meal, and we don't even finish the value meal. That's how Post Love Alive Charity started. So again, guys, love-alive.org. You can learn about it. You can read up on it. You can meet the board members. We're 501c3 certified through the state of Tallahassee. You can also go to the Love Alive Charities Facebook page under that name, the Love Alive Charity, as well as the Love Alive Charity on Instagram. And you can follow us there and stay updated.
Very cool. How'd you kind of get started doing that? That's great. Awesome job, like doing that with the community and everything else.
Well, it simply started as from a value meal. It started from somebody going up at McDonald's. I was having a conversation with a family member. Someone stopped at McDonald's, pulled to the trash can, threw a bag in, and while I was talking to that family member, I saw a homeless man walk up and open the trash and retrieve whatever was edible out of that bag. And it was that moment um, that initiated the process. However, growing up in the community of Jacksonville, Florida, we've always had a homeless problem. So being a young kid, going to the grocery store, mom, sends you to get a box of cereal for your siblings, and there's homeless people outside asking a 9, 10-year-old kid for change. And that was something that I became very used and familiar to. And I always said that if I had a chance to give back, to make a difference, not necessarily to give back, but just to make a difference, that I would do that.
Very cool. Very good stuff there. So, what's going on with you and the NWA? What's the latest from the NWA?
I don't know. You tell me. We just finished Kentucky's By Any Means Necessary on the state lines of Tennessee. Got some big stuff going on there, obviously. It was a big event, well received by that community of Oak Grove, Kentucky. And that's going to air and probably have aired past this or since this podcast. But nonetheless, we're chugging along. We're moving towards Hard Times 2, which is going to be on December the 3rd or December the 4th in out of the GVP studios in Atlanta, Georgia. So post chugging along, I got the direct deposit in my back pocket, and for that to cash in for the NWA World Title shot. And right now we're just sitting back, we're just watching and waiting and letting Trevor do his thing and enjoy the moment.
Just talked to him not that long ago. He seems like loving life as the NWA World Champion. You know, following in Harley Race's footsteps there, big time.
As he should, as he should.
With NWA, how often do you guys tape? It feels like sometimes you guys are like taping a bunch all at once, and then sometimes it seems scattered. Do you guys tape more often than I'm realizing?
Well, yeah, COVID slowed it down. Obviously, COVID brought a business change to everyone in the business, so the format just changed up. But now, since everything is kind of with the vaccinations and people becoming inoculated or whatnot, and you having your inoculated, vaccinated, whatever. But you got people that are becoming more aware of the rules of how to protect themselves and each other. So now we're getting back out and we're doing a lot. You know, we're going to be doing more tapings on the road as well as just the studio.
What do you think of the NWA just as a whole? Because to me, it's like you might be, which is crazy to think this because you're not small at all, but you may be one of the smaller guys in the NWA. I feel like they're very old school in the sense where it's the guys look like wrestlers. You know what I mean? You guys all look like pro wrestlers. Not to say anything bad about some other leagues, but I've seen some guys who are really, really small. I'm like, man, not what I'm used to as like an older fan or whatever, middle-aged wrestling fan. You know, I'm not really used to like, wow, this small guy doesn't look like what I grew up with like as a wrestler. Everybody in the NWA looks like a wrestler. And it's crazy to think you might be one of the smaller guys, which is nuts.
Well, I think it's called variety. And as long as you have variety in any type of profession, then you're creating a opportunity to be successful, to do your company and its consumers. You open the door to more possibilities because of variety. You got Tyrus tipping the scales at 400 pounds. You know, you got Bram at 260 and all of that. So yeah, and then we have the smaller guys like the Carino and the Sal Renaro and so forth. But variety is good. Nobody wants one thing. If you have just one set of talent that all look alike, act alike, wrestle alike, then it's just not as entertaining as you pointed out about the way it should be and the way it was. So.
Yeah, I talked to Billy not that long ago either, and his like mindset is very old school in a certain sense. Obviously, you mix the old school with the new school, but he likes guys that they look like they're wrestlers. It's like that old school mentality. Like, would you rather walk on the side of the street of the Pope or like Marco Stunt? Obviously, you know what I mean. Like, it's like that old school mentality as a fan. I liked it. Do you like more of like being like an old school kind of guy? I know you came from Rip and like OVW for a while, but are you more old school?
I believe I would consider myself to be more old school, being that I grew up on NWA.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to witness all type of athletes. Obviously, Dusty Rhodes was 300-pound white man, and look what he was able to do. And you had so many different guys there. But here's the one thing about it. You look at Abdullah the Butcher, and almost nearly 400 pounds. But wasn't nobody going to mess with Abdullah the Butcher, whether he was in the alley, in a bar, in the airport. No one's going to attempt. And that's the respect level that the wrestlers accrued back then. Today, as you have pointed out in your own way, that's for a lot of fans and a lot of those who see what we do, it's just not there.
Were you always a wrestling fan growing up?
Uh, Brother, I wouldn't be in this business if I wasn't. For all the Johnny Come Latelys, I think now a lot of people are looking at becoming a professional wrestler, and it's not a dream of theirs. Being a professional wrestler was a dream. That's all I was a fan of. When I was in elementary school, I remember, during the Dare days and the drug campaign of Dare, when everybody's standing up doing their what they're going to be when they become an older individual and graduate and all that stuff. And some said doctors, some said lawyers, some said policemen, some said firemen. I said wrestler, and I was laughed at, but that was my dream. I don't. A lot of guys aren't dreaming. They just see this opportunity now to be on TV or to possibly become a star. It's not something that they necessarily, dreamed about. But
Could be famous, maybe move on to the movies, something.
right,
Yeah, for
uh,
sure. Who were some of your favorites? You mentioned Dusty. Who were some of your favorites growing up?
Dusty, Flair, Steve, Nikita, Magnum. Um, Obviously, most of the Horsemen. Um, and then the Ron Simmons, Booker T, and Harlem Heat. So I had a fair share. I was more of an NWA guy. Obviously, everybody loved Hogan. Everybody loved the Warrior. Everybody loved Macho Man as well. But those were and Jake the Snake, Arn Anderson. As far as psychology, mentality goes, yeah, those guys that work. So those guys are certainly up there with the rest of them.
Cream of the crop, the best of the best.
Yeah.
Just getting back to the NWA nowadays, what do you think of Billy and his vision and kind of where you guys are as far as the NWA right now?
Well, without a vision, you'll perish. And obviously, Billy has a vision. Billy is the one man that's in charge, and we go with that. So we support Billy and his vision, and we all hop on board. We have to be on board together, regardless of any personal likes or dislikes. We just kind of, and obviously we're appreciative because of Billy's vision and the way he's handled the business of the NWA. He's been able to maintain it, uh, even though there's a brief layoff of the when the COVID hit, we had to stop taping, but he found a way to keep the interest of the NWA going, and so I think what Billy's doing is a great job. Obviously, there's a lot of inclusiveness there as well with Billy, and the number one thing for Pope is it's go be Pope. And Billy supports Pope being Pope. There's no, there's no script and there's no writing. There's no, just go be Pope.
Do you like that a lot better? Because they always say like the WWE method, the script, you got to read it right off the paper. Billy is much more like here's the podium or here's the mic, go get it. Maybe he gives you a bullet point or two, but I mean it's really you're on your own to get over.
Yeah, I think that's always going to be the best. I didn't have to worry about that too much in WWE either because Dusty Rhodes was my guy. He was the one that took all of my stuff. He was my producer, agent, however you want to call it. So didn't have to worry about that too much. Just hit the bullet points, and I said what I said, how I wanted to say it, the way I wanted to say it, and that's kind of where we're at today. It's no one will ever. Problem is, if you're not a talker, you'll never be a talker. I don't care if you're trying to read a script or not. You can't take somebody and put them on commentary and expect them to be a commentator if they don't know how to. If they've never been one, they're not a good talker. They never will be. And so a lot of that just comes from the person and their personality.
How come it comes so natural to you? You're just like a smooth talker. Even very early on in the business, it just comes easy to you. Just comes natural. You just kind of rolls off the tongue.
Hey, well, pretty much. There's something that they refer to in the business as it, and some people have it, and some people don't. It's not something that can be taught. It's not something that can necessarily be learned. You might get close to it, but to being comfortable with it. But there's either you just have it or you don't. And a lot of guys that come before me, they had the gift of gab, whether that's Dusty, whether that's Flair, uh, whether that's Macho or Hogan, whether it was Arn or Jake. Notice all the guys that I named as being the great ones. They were also great talkers. So either those guys, and I'm pretty sure they didn't have to. Muhammad Ali, he was just gifted.
It's one of those things, man. They know what to say. And even like Arn and Jake, they don't necessarily yell or anything, but just the way they say it and kind of the way that they're coming off. I mean, even Arn still to this day is still great at it.
Right.
I mean, I love watching him on I feel like maybe they should use him more, but even today he didn't yell or scream or curse. He's just Arn and he said something very profound usually.
hmm and that's Arn Anderson for you. And anytime you need a good promo, certainly you can go to Arn.
I feel like with you being the TV champion or former TV champion of the NWA, you got to be thinking Arn had that very similar same belt that he was holding. I mean, that's got to be a good feeling, right? Former TV champion, just like some of your heroes.
Well, yeah, to have that and to hold that after those guys and to be the sixth longest all time, um, the longest of the modern era, obviously, but to be on that list and to have a 290-day reign to come right behind, Paul Jones, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Mike Rotundo, and I think Steve Austin. Those are great names to top 5 names to be above you. That's them. So it's a great honor.
Sometimes the guys always say like, "Oh, the titles are proper, doesn't mean anything." But to me, I think it does mean something to the guys. I don't think that's necessarily true about it being a prop or being used as a storyline thing. I mean, I think it's much more to the wrestlers, right? Like to win a title, especially one with significance and history behind it.
But I think every title, every championship, whether that's NBA, NFL, they're all props, aren't they? It's just something that you go after to obtain the title of world champion. The title is what you're labeled as. The props are the championship rings. The props are the trophies. The props are the plaques and whatever it is that you're chasing to say that you're the champion. So anything is a prop. It's the title that you're after, and the title is whatever NBA World Champions, NWA World Champion, WWE World Champion, NFL Super Bowl champions. That's the title.
What do you think about Tyrus? I see him all the time. He's on Fox News. He's on Gutfeld or whatever, a Greg Gutfeld show. He's wearing the NWA TV title on TV all the time. What do you think about that? It's pretty cool.
I think it's great of him to do. Why wouldn't he do that? Why wouldn't he represent the company that he obviously is a part of and won that great title? If he's on there, draws more fans to the product. So it's a smart move by him. It brings awareness. It creates questions for those who don't know what it is. Then they can get on social media, hit him up, and he can explain it, or he can share something. Or if they go on social media, they'll see it. They'll see it in his profile or in some of the stuff that he shares. So I think that's good that he does that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Just like flicking through, you're like, oh my god, oh, he's wearing the NWA TV title. Or you're right, if somebody didn't realize it, they would look him up and say, oh, he's the TV champ. Oh, Fight TV, or I'll
Right.
check out NWA on YouTube or NWAWrestling.com. I mean, you mean check out a bunch of different stuff. It opens up some questions too.
Mhm. And that's the good thing about it. And I think he'll continue to do that as long as he have it.
So with you and obviously, your pro wrestling career, but how did you, if we can rewind, how did you actually get in? I know you were an amateur boxer at first and a pretty damn good one, if I remember correctly, like 100-0 or something, or 101, and the one loss was DQ or something. So how'd you actually get in, or how did you get from boxing to wrestling?
Just putting someone, put someone in jail or admitting them into the jail, and somehow, some way across the computer screen, I don't know why, I saw a banner for the first ever OVW wrestling tryout camp. And I always wanted to get away in. I remember thinking I was going to go to the power plant one of these days. I was 5 years into my wrestling, to my law enforcement career, and crossing over to the streets and everything. And I saw the opportunity just for a tryout, and I got excited. And I took 2 weeks off, went to Louisville, to OVW's first ever tryout camp, and I was up there for a week, I believe, and went back. And a couple of months later, Jim Cornette called me, and said I didn't know anything. Didn't know a headlock from a wrist lock, didn't know an arm bar from a crowbar, but I got something, and that I was trainable. Got a good look. You didn't lie. You didn't come in and say you had this many years of experience, and then you get in there and you crap the bed. He was like, we can train you, and I'm telling you, but I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm telling you if you come back, you'll get your contract. That's how sure Jim Cornette was. So that's how I got into the business.
Was the boxing thing true? Were you a really almost undefeated amateur boxer? Did you really have 100 wins?
Why wouldn't that be true? Who's going to make that up?
I don't know if wrestlers just they say stuff. I don't know. Who
I
knows?
know. I know. Wrestlers don't say that. History says that. When I came in, they explained to you who I was. I've done several interviews talking about who I am and what. Yeah, I was that brother way before WWE. You know. So yeah.
Yep.
So nah, that's true.
So with Cornette, like, what was your feeling on him? You know, everyone says he's a polarizing figure, this and that, but it seems like you guys kind of hit it off right away.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't? I mean, Jim Cornette is Jim Cornette, even to this day. So I have nothing but love for Jim Cornette. You know, I've never had a bad word with him. Everything's ever always been on a respectful level. So Jim Cornette is Jim Cornette, and he's gonna always be Jim Cornette. So either you love him or you hate him. That's just the way it's gonna be with Jim Cornette. But yeah, we didn't just hit it off. I think Jim Cornette just saw, as he always has, running his own promotion, Smoky Mountain and all that stuff. He just saw talent. He saw talent, and he was excited about it, and therefore, you know, he took a lot of pride and pleasure in helping to mold me into where I'm at. He took a big part of that in the early stages for sure.
I think some of that stuff with Cornette too, he just plays it up because he's playing almost a character on his podcast sometimes, where he's, you know, he'll play it up because he'll garner more views or something, where people will definitely kind of be interested. Whether you said you're right, whether they love him or hate him, they'll be interested in what he's saying. But that's great that he took the liking to you. He saw that the it factor, if you will, that you were kind of mentioning before.
Yeah, I don't think there's no. I don't know necessarily what you're referring to, but I don't. Jim Cornette is Jim Cornette. And everything Jim Cornette says, Jim Cornette means. That's Jim Cornette. He's the same way that he's always been, as far as I'm concerned. Whether he says stuff people like or whether he says stuff people don't like, Jim Cornette has never been his tongue. Since when has Jim Cornette not been an outspoken character, as you just said? That's Jim Cornette. That's not just a character. That's Jim Cornette.
Right, I got you. I feel like with Cornette, though, you're right. His like, as far as scouting talent, he bringing in all those great guys to OVW. You know, add yourself to the list. He's been spot on with a ton of those guys. Bringing Cena, Batista, and so on. Was Rip always the trainer for you when you got in there? Like, who did the actual training part when they actually put you in the ring?
I mean, Rip was very hands-on, but he wasn't necessarily. There was like three levels. There's three phases. You got the beginners, intermediate, which is Rips, and then you had the contract class. So you had to go through that process. And so while you have once you graduate from basic training, then you go on to Rips, and now Rip is about teaching you your holds. Sometimes you train with Rip and you never get in the ring. You're on the floor. And
really?
And that would probably benefit a lot of guys today who don't know how to chain wrestle. You get on the floor, you work a hold, and then he says switch, and you work a hold, and then he says switch, and now whatever hold you was working before, you don't go back to it. You go to a different one, and then you say switch, and then you go back to. So it's methodical. And teaching, he had a way in teaching you, and very grateful for it too. Because I can get in the ring today and wrestle with someone, wrestle for 3 minutes or however long I want to, and never disconnect. And by disconnect, I mean losing a grip, letting your hands loose, stay connected to them the whole time. You won't see that much because nobody really wrestle anymore.
That is true. The chain wrestling and stuff, it should be there.
Yeah, it's not there. You might get an armbar go behind, and after that, it's all running in spots.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it's just
Be sure to go back.
memorization of spots. Yeah.
Be sure to go watch the Power from By Any Means Necessary that I was alluding to earlier. Go watch that match with Kobe Carino and Pope.
Oh, nice. All right, I'm gonna have to check that one out. With OVW, you were saying there's the contracted class. So how do you break that down to the levels? Like you start out with Rip and then you move on to like.
No, you start out in the beginners class. That was probably Nick Dinsmore that was running at that time because he was a homegrown talent. Will be signed himself, but you always just had someone that would train the newbies. And it wasn't about ring time per se. It was about understanding the systematics, understanding the of just the nuances, if you will, or not, I should say, but understanding how to properly take a bump, understanding how to properly go over the top rope or through the rope, or just little things like that. That some people will take as a nuance because they want to do a lot more things. But yeah, just the fundamental teachings of professional wrestling. Then when you get to Rip, after you know how to take a fall and you can properly take your bump or whatnot, now you go to Rip, and now you're doing other stuff, And Rip would do drills every now and then, but he just focused on knowing how to wrestle, how to wrestle. And then when he finally got you in the ring, he wanted to see a babyface sell. He wanted to see a heel get heat, For instance, heels don't. A lot of heels today don't necessarily get heat. They may do a cool move to stop a guy, but if a heel is doing a cool move to stop a guy, is that going to make me want to hate him when that heel looks so cool doing it? No, it's going to make me want to cheer him. So Rip taught psychology. That's what Rip taught. I mean, he was just spot on. If I'm supposed to be the bad guy, I don't want to. It was the reason I stopped doing my outer limits elbow drop off the top rope when I would run and stand on the top rope and come down. I stopped doing that because I was the bad guy. And if I'm the bad guy doing that and the good guy does not do a move that is more impressive than that, it hurts the match. It hurts what we're trying to convey. That's psychology. So outside of that, once you got done with Rip, if you got signed, then you moved on to the contract class, and that was, at multiple people that WWE will have come down. Al Snow became the guy, but before that, it was like Lance Storm and Bill DeMott before they shipped him down to Atlanta, the Deep South. Dean Malenko would be down, Sarge would be down. So they would just constantly have people coming, but I remember Robert Gibson was there for a while. But they would constantly have guys coming in and out, but you also always had a mainstay. And Lance at the time was assigned to OVW. Before it was Lance and Al Snow, and then Al Snow. And that was your contract class.
Such a great system. Was there any problems with contracted wrestlers and non-contracted wrestlers? Because you had a bunch of them. Oh no,
never. I don't recall, but everybody pulled for one. I got signed during a contracted WWE meeting, contract talent only meeting. I got signed in a contracted talent only meeting. Okay. Jim Cornette called me. Elijah, what are you doing? I'm at work, trying to make me okay. I need you to get here. Get somebody to cover. Stephanie's here. John Laurinaitis is here. I want you to come. I want you to cut a promo. I get there. All the contracted people are in the stands, and they're having them to talk. They're having them to get in the ring in front of Steph and Tommy Dreamer and John Laurinaitis and whoever else was there. They got them all getting in the ring, and they're cutting promos because they're trying to figure out who they want, who they're going to bring up, who's ready, who's not ready, whatever. And so when that happened, it was over with. And Jim goes, Hey, Steph, I got one more. Hold on. I just want you to hear this guy. I want you to meet a lot. I mean, he just stepped up for me. I got one more. You know, he's not one of our contracted guys, but I want you to. And I got in the ring. Stephanie said, okay. And I got in the ring. I spoke, cut a promo, just talked about me. It wasn't a dry tear in the house. And Stephanie was crying. John Laurinaitis was crying. And a week or two later, Tommy Dreamer sent me my contract.
Wow, awesome. What did you say that was, got everybody so emotional?
I just told my story. That's all. Too long to
Right. Okay.
share. But I just talked about me and my story, my dreams and my aspirations, and what brought me there. That's it.
Pretty powerful stuff, though. If Johnny Ace and Stephanie and everybody are, getting emotional over it, pretty awesome.
Kid, you made me cry. Yeah. Yeah. So it was one of those things. I mean, so to your question again, no, everybody pulled for everybody for the most part. You know, if somebody stepped out of line or didn't understand proper protocol, they were put in line. You know, put in place. We had locker room leaders. You know, so guys would talk to one another, or and handle business as need be. But there was never any animosity to the extent of some guys did stupid things, but that's everywhere. But it was a tight ship. The boys policed the boys.
You had a great run, though. Think about it. OVW Triple Crown champion. Like you mentioned, you didn't know anything going in, and then all of a sudden you're the Triple Crown champion. You get a contract. I mean, that's a pretty damn good run you had there.
Well, I wouldn't say I didn't know anything going in. I didn't know the psychology and maybe some most of the moves going in, but I knew a lot. I knew a lot because I always watched, and because I watched, I didn't just watch for the moves. I studied things. I knew timing. From the very first match I had. I knew timing. Second match I had, you have amateur shows. So the second match I had, Danny Davis, who's the little wizard behind the curtain, never comes out. The little fat man behind the curtain never comes out. He came and he met me coming through Gorilla after my match. And he said, "You were born for this business. You hear me? Got D, that was good. You were born for this. You got it." That was it. He said, "You're going to get," he said, "your money." Danny Davis told me that, and this was an amateur match, but they hadn't seen somebody come out there, I will assume. And maybe they have, but what he told me meant a lot to me because first time I teamed with the assassin, that was Alejandro. And we both had on Cali Jail shirt, something I used to fight in when I did my Tough Man fights. Cali Jail shirt, orange shirt, black sweats. But that second event, I was in a tag team match, and I completely flipped the script and did something totally different. Got over me, who I am. Just got over me, a character, which pretty much is what you see today. And he just got up, and everybody just stopped what they were doing because here comes the wizard. And he said, "You were born for this business." And I'm forever grateful to Danny Davis and Jim Cornette because they believed in me, and the rest is history.
They saw something and they said, you're a natural, at that point. So they saw that it factor again, that mysterious it factor. They saw that in you.
Indeed.
When you actually get called up to WWE and like you're going to be in ECW, who is actually the one that like calls you up? Like, is that like a Johnny Ace role where he says, "Hey, we love what you're doing OVW. We want you on TV and WWE"?
No, I think it was a creative process. And yeah, it was a creative process. And Court Bauer was the one that called me from creative and told me that I was coming up and what I was coming up to do.
So immediately they say, they're probably going to put you, I think it was with Sylvester Turkai right away.
Correct.
What did they say that what they wanted from you? Basically, just it's going to be you guys put together and we're going to see what we have here?
Pretty much. Pretty much. There was no detailed anything. It was He's an MMA monster. You're his mouthpiece. That's it.
That's funny. Sometimes like there's like this big elaborate thing, and sometimes it's like, oh, let's see what we have. Like, you know, like we know
Nah.
we have something there, but let's see.
No, they just that was it. We we're looking and trying to figure out why am I there and you know, we didn't get our outfits till the day of. We had to go out and buy it, you know, or they went out and buy it. Sent someone out to buy the sweatsuits that we used to wear. So I don't think it was a long thought out process. I just think it was something that they were going with. They saw it, let's just go with this, and we did it that same day. I think his first match was against the Tonka. I think I don't know.
With that, what did you think of the new ECW? You probably were familiar with or I think you're probably familiar with the old ECW. What did you think? Like, okay, this is interesting. They're trying to, you know, rebrand or reintroduce ECW, and they got a bunch of young guys in there, not necessarily have as roles for us as of yet.
Opportunity. That's what it was.
Did you immediately think like this is great? I made it to the big time. Were you nervous? Like, were you feeling some pressure at all? Like, what was the thought process as you entered into the WWE really for the first time?
Well, I mean, I started on SmackDown. I didn't start with ECW, so I started on SmackDown just so that it's clear.
Okay, right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where we were. We didn't go over to the ECW brand until the actual ECW event, December to Dismember of 2006. So, well, you know, that was I see the brand as more of an angle. It was more of an angle than anything. And no, I mean there was I don't know how much. Of course, there's nervousness, but there's probably more excitement than anything. You know, more excitement because you get the opportunity to, you know, you wish it was on a different concept as far as just because we were just kind of put out there. But hey, we're there, and I've done what I've always done. That's make most of the situation that I'm in.
I should have probably worded that better. Yeah, obviously you start with SmackDown, then you move to ECW, but the debut with SmackDown was with Turkai, and like you mentioned,
Yeah.
those track suits.
Mhm.
To me, it's one of those things where I don't know, like you're kind of reintroducing ECW, but you have all these new guys and Dismember ECW's December to Dismember didn't really go off the way I think people wanted it to. It wasn't the, you know, the best outing or the best showing at that point. I don't know if you remember it any differently, but you know, from the fan perspective, it wasn't that great of a show.
So that I thought our match was good. I don't care about what the show was. That's not for me to worry about.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you want to do the commentating stuff? Because I know that you did some commentating stuff there with Joey Styles. Like, was that something too? Where like, wow, this guy's got the gift of gab. Let's try him out on commentary as well. And I know like they were kind of giving you a bunch of different roles.
Yeah, well, that was something initially that they thought about too, was the commentary. So when I did the stuff with Joey Styles, that was unnatural for them to go to because of Taz being away. And so yeah, so that was fun. I'm down to do. I love being a jack of many trades, and that was great. And well, obviously, I went and did that in TNA, and I do it in NWA.
Yep.
So it's good not to just be one dimensional. You know, if you're one dimensional, then you limit yourself.
You're very, I know, like you're great on the mic. So it's funny, like some guys can just adapt, like yourself, and be okay. I can do the manager thing a little bit with Turkai. Hey, you want me to commentate with Joey? And then like you kind of have that just sense of being able to do, like you said, many different things. Was commentary always kind of on your mind, or it was just like, okay, I'll try it, and again,
I
I'm
wanted to
teaching it.
do everything that is involved in the world of wrestling. I wanted to do everything. I've done everything. I run my own events with in conjunction with the Love Drives for the Love of Life charity. We're going to do Duval Brawl 4 on January the 8th, 2022, which is a big wrestling event as well. So I know all aspects of the business. You can't get in this business and just have, again, be one dimensional. If you get in this business, or at least from my standpoint, I want to know everything. I want to do everything. I want to know how to build.
And of course, ECW, the future of ECW at one point was a great gimmick. They had the new breed with you guys, which I thought was a good idea to kind of go up against some of some of the old guard there. Did
Mhm.
you like that? Because it was something like, wow, you're really going to give you guys a chance and kind of give you guys a name because you're going up against the RVDs and the Sabus of the world, and you and Corvan and Thorne, and you're going to take them, and Striker, you're going to take them out, a part of the new breed. Did you like that angle?
Oh, it was great. It was a great angle. It was a great time. Those guys were very giving, and they were very professional, and they were helping, as much as they can. Certainly, Dreamer, from a teaching standpoint, on the job training. So I love working all those guys. It was good.
WrestleMania 23 match was good, but the rematch afterwards on ECW TV, I think, was even better. It was a real kind of launching point for you guys, I felt like, or could have been.
Yeah, the 23 match got cut down to the time, but we got the time back on the ECW that followed, and it was a great. Again, we knew what we were able to do. We just weren't allowed to do it at WrestleMania, so we got great TV out of it.
It was great. The second match was great, and it really kind of showcased everybody. I feel like you got more time and really got to showcase the group. Was that like kind of a breakout point for you? You think there, as far as like being able to kind of break out from the mold?
I don't. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I can't say that. I think that's up to you. That's up to everybody's own opinion on when a breakout happens, or if a changing moment. I mean, I did nothing different.
So Benoit, Chris Benoit, you had basically his last ever match, and it seemed to me, obviously, who the heck knows what the people are thinking, but what do you think looking back? Like, you had Chris Benoit's last ever match.
Um, an honor and a curse at the same time.
Explain, what do you mean by that?
Well, hell, I'm in the ring with Chris Benoit. That's an honor.
Right.
He was one of the greatest to ever do it. He'll always be one of the greatest to ever do it. It's a curse because I'm the last man that wrestled Chris Benoit. So I'm always going to be associated as the last guy that wrestled Chris Benoit. So that's what I mean. And I'm always going to be questioned about Chris Benoit and being his last opponent. Nobody asked how the match was. They just asked, what was it? How do you feel being his last opponent? Nobody talk about the match. That's the curse.
Let's talk about the match, if you don't mind. What do you think about it? I mean, he's definitely one of the best ever to me, easily. Just such a great worker. He could literally have a good match with anybody.
Well, I don't think that I don't think it's expounded on it at this point is going to change because me just alluding to what I just did,
Mhm.
it kind of tells you how I feel about the match. It was a very great and emotional match before any of the aftermath that happened. It was a great moment for me. It was a great moment for me. Great match. And
Were
every time
you
I'm in there with somebody like of that caliber, I take it as on the job training.
were you friends like with him as far as like
Of course,
traveling the roads and stuff like that? You were
of,
close with him?
well, I mean, I can't say I'm close like Eddie Guerrero or Chris Jericho or Chavo. No, I can't say that. But we were pretty close on a professional level. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, who the heck knows what really happened there, and it just absolute craziness and just very, very sad all the way around. And just obviously his legacy is, like you said, forever ruined, and kind of the curse there with you being his last match. I just had to bring it up because it's just one of those things, like you said,
Oh
people just
no,
don't
no,
remember that. Yeah.
no. Listen, that's brought up all the time. I was making a point. You asked me how I feel, and I told you it's a blessing and a curse. You didn't ask me about the match. Nobody asks about the match. They ask about being the last opponent. So again, that's part of the curse. Nobody nobody necessarily expresses the man. That was a good match. That's all I'm saying. It was a really really good match. But I'm not saying that it should be discussed more. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's just part of the curse of that good work being overlooked. The curse of Benoit's legacy being tainted.
Yep.
The curse that you can't go to the network and pull that match up. The curse. It's part of the curse.
Yep. True. Unfortunately, yep. Very true. So, what do you think about CM Punk? I know he returned now. You guys, I don't know, like, did you guys ever have any sort of relationship? I know you guys wrestled a bunch in ECW. What do you think about the Punker?
I love CM Punk. Love, love his character. Love what he does. Personally, I don't know him. Character wise, as far as the person that I wrestled, the character that I wrestled, we didn't have a bad match. So,
Were you supposed to be or were ever going to be the ECW heavyweight champion?
well, I was hurt that weekend following that great match that no one ever asked me about when it comes to Chris Benoit. So Johnny Ace kept me home, and I wanted to come, but I wouldn't have wanted to be the champion anyways if it was based off of the circumstances. So they were looking for me. He's home, so they created John Morrison on the spot.
What was
And
the injury?
do you remember the match? Did you watch the match? Well, let me put you on the spot. Did you watch the match? You remember the
Th-
match?
This was so long ago. I feel like
Yeah.
I
Well,
honestly I watched it originally. My buddy
that's
used to
okay.
order all the pay-per-views. We'd go to his basement and watch all the matches. So I remember the pay-per-view, but I don't remember if I saw the match or not.
Yeah, nah. When he came down with his flying headbutt, Chris Benoit was a solid 245 pounds, like just solid. So he came down with the headbutt. I'm going to put up the knees, but he didn't come from the side. He didn't come from this side. He didn't come from the left or the right. He came from behind my head. So in order for me to get the knees up, guess where my knees have to go?
Gotcha. Almost all the way.
So to bring my
Yep.
knees all the way atop my head, my back is going to be off the ground. So there was no support when he crashed into my knees and my back exploded.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And again, a proud moment. I still finished the match, still had to lift him up in a suplex like position for him to knee me in the head and take me down. So it was great for me. But that was the injury. That's what I couldn't walk afterwards. I made it to the back and I collapsed, but I couldn't walk. I had to go hide behind some crates so nobody saw me.
Gotcha. So obviously, like you said, supposedly, I guess you were going to win if they were really looking for you, and then they created Morrison, and
No, no, no,
Morrison ends up winning.
no. Benoit was going to win. Benoit just obviously couldn't be at the event.
Well, yeah, right.
So I would have been the guy that they would have made champion because they wanted me, and I wasn't there. So I would have become the champion because Vince likes to have the baby face to chase.
Right, and then Punk would have chased you
Right.
as champion. Gotcha.
And again, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't have wanted it under those circumstances anyways.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So what led to the release? Like, why did you end up leaving WWE?
I was injured. I was trying to get the Pope character over. And I've never been injured. Let's just say I had a bad ankle, sprained my ankle, trying to get out, couldn't get out. As far as the Pope goes, get the Pope out there, couldn't get it out there. And Creative had the mascots came, Creative had nothing for me, and that was it.
And then, like you mentioned before, you ended up in TNA for a while. Like obviously under the guys of Dixie, but during the Hogan era, you ended up coming in there as the Pope and just having a great run in TNA.
Before Hogan.
Well, I guess it was right before Hogan, and then Hogan kind of takes over, right?
No, Hogan didn't come in 2010. I was there in 2009.
Okay, gotcha.
Actually, 2008, but I never debuted to 2009 in May, I believe. So, but yeah, so no, that TNA, that was great, wonderful time, family atmosphere, Yes, totally different from WWE at the time. Complete creative control per se. I did of the Pope because I got to do what I wanted to do with the Pope. And Vince Russo never came out. I always give him credit. He never took a sheet of paper and tried to script Pope. He said, bro, you're Pope, bro. I cannot write I am a 40-year-old Italian, bro. How can I write for the Pope? What does the Pope think? What does the Pope, you know that, bro. Go be Pope. So for everybody that gives him crap, I give him I give him kudos for that. Because that's the same guy that for lack of better terms, he wasn't The Rock. He couldn't be The Rock, but I'm sure he helped maybe give ideas, but Rock, go be Rock. Stone Cold, go be Stone Cold. Pope, I'm not on their level, but Pope, go be Pope. That's what he did. Go be Pope.
That's kind of like the genius of it, right? I mean, it's when to step back and say, "Hey, I can't
Right.
give this guy a script," right? I mean, that's like the genius of it a little bit, where it's like you got to collaborate, but you can't tell the guy exactly what to say. It wouldn't be their character.
Right.
So with him, you guys obviously had a pretty good relationship, you and Vince Russo.
I mean, again, professional relationship. Yeah, it was good. I can't think of one time that it wasn't.
Pretty good run, if I remember correctly in TNA. I mean, Kurt Angle, a Sting, a Abyss, a team with Nash a little bit. I mean, you had a Samoa Joe. I mean, you had a really good run in TNA back then.
Yeah, again, gonna have rough patches anywhere you go, but I look back on my time in TNA as being very positive.
With like the TNA and everything that happened there, and as you start to go forward, I mean, they had you almost be like the commissioner role. Then you said when you came back, you did the commentary role. You'd like to do a bunch of different things. It's one of those things where they kind of want you to do all that stuff, or is that you wanting, like you said before, wanting to do the different roles and any opportunity they give you, you want to do?
Yeah, when opportunity comes, you seize it. So yeah, opportunity was just there, and I'm not going to back down from it. Every new opportunity is your next greatest challenge, and I look forward to my next greatest challenge.
I feel like you and Josh Matthews had some pretty good chemistry as far as just like a commentary team. Like we
Yeah,
didn't expect it, but I was like, wow, look at this Pope and
yeah,
Josh Matthews out of nowhere. They're a great team together.
yeah. That kind of just worked itself out. Josh helped me greatly in the beginning but all of my job was just to get over the talent, and by me being a talent, I knew how to get over other people and verbally. So that's why Mancho was great. That's why Mr. Perfect was better. That's why Bobby Heenan was the greatest.
Yep.
And the list goes on.
So as we head towards the finish here, head towards the wind down, what's next for you? Like what else you go? I know you kind of briefly mentioned before, but what are you up to next? What's in store for
NWA
you?
World Heavyweight Championship. That's next. Yeah, that is next. I got a couple of shows. And again, I don't know where we're at in this time slot, but I'm staying busy. NWA is my focus. NWA World Heavyweight Championship is my focus. To become the second man in 74 years to hold that title will be history making, and probably no doubt the biggest accolade that I could obtain. There's only one title that carries such prestige, such royalty. Luthez, Jack Briscoe, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Dusty Rhodes, and the list goes on. So there's only one title in wrestling that carries that prestige, and that's the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
with you when you look back at your career, and obviously it's still going. You still got many of time left. You got the NWA titles in your sights there. Do you have any regrets, like in the business at all? Anything you look back like wish you did differently, or something that you wish maybe would have gone differently?
Uh, just one, but that has nothing to do with the business. I was filming Django Unchained, was on set there for about 2.5, 3 months, and it's just not. I always tell people that's the only challenging one. It's not a regret because I did what was right for me. I did what was right for my business. But TNA called me from the set and needed me to come back to start the BFG series, which was a battle royal, and we weren't filming. And I decided to, because filming was paused. Leonardo DiCaprio was sick. Filming was paused. Rain happened. Filming was paused because it was outside. We were shooting a lot outside with Django Unchained. And I was aware that when filming resumed, they were going to need my face. They were going to need me in the camera. And we all had stand-ins. And they told me they needed me, and I tried to back them off. And I'm like, hey, no, hey. Like and I go talk to the producers or the PAs, I should say, and they're like, look, when Leo says he's ready, we're going to start filming. So you can take a chance and fly back and then come right back. But if we start filming tomorrow, you're going to lose your spot. And this is going to be a red carpet event. This is going to be big movies, Quentin Tarantino. And I went back. I agreed for them to fly me out, them being TNA, for just that taping, and then fly me back to New Orleans, the right after the tapings, and I got called, and she informed me that they were filming and they used my placement, so no longer be needed. So that was again, it's not a regret. I made that decision, but I did so because TNA, for those 2.5, 3 months I was away, my check was always in the mail. So I got to go where my bread is buttered. Yes, it would have been cool to be featured in that movie and to be on the red carpet and have my name in the credits. But I decided to be loyal where loyalty was being, presented to me. So, but that's kind of if you want to call it that, there's no regret. I made my decision, but that's about it.
Is Hollywood, was that always kind of
No,
a thought of yours? And no, acting in Hollywood, no.
I've done plenty of acting. Again, nobody. I came in the world of wrestling to be a wrestler, not a Hollywood actor.
Had that Django and how did that happen? Like, how did you get that role just to begin with?
I got an agent. I have an agent, and Quentin Tarantino contacted my agent and told her that he wanted me. He literally picked me out of a lineup.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so he
Is
picked.
that easy? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently he saw me, so they sent the picture where they had circled my picture, and amongst other pictures, he wanted me on there. I was supposed to be a Mandingo, so I was supposed to be on Leonardo DiCaprio's. I don't know if you saw that movie or not, but
Yep, good movie.
so I was supposed to be the one that was fighting in the house. I was supposed to be the one that carried Leonardo when he's dead. I don't know. I only know the script. I never saw the movie, so
It's pretty good.
yeah.
So for you though, when you kind of just look ahead, where do you want to be just going forward? I know you said NWA champion, but anything else on the horizon? Anything else you're looking forward to, or anywhere else you want to wrestle, or anything else you want to be doing in the business?
No, I just want to continually make progress. I want to continually entertain, wherever that may be. I have no specifics. I just want to keep doing what Pope is doing, and that's entertain. That's run by charity, help make a difference, and put smiles on the faces of people across the world. That's it.
One more time, please tell everybody just where they can find the charity and everything.
Thank you for that. The Love Alive charity, love-alive.org. That is where you can go and read up on my charity. That's the charity's website. You can also follow us on the Love Alive charity on Facebook, as well as the Love Alive charity on Instagram. Again, Our 10th annual event is coming up, and it is going to be a big moment for me, to know the amount of time and effort that I put into it. So the money that I put into it, and for those of you who have sowed a seed with us, it's a big moment for you as well. 10 years, and we're going to continue to do what we do. And so I appreciate you guys. And if you want to follow me, you can go do so on love-alive. Look at me, love-alive.org. You can go follow me at the Black Pope. You gotta plug that charity, man. But at the Black Pope, DA Black Pope on Twitter, DA Black Pope on Instagram, as well as Facebook.com/Elijah Burke, or AKA the Pope, because there's many Elijah Burks out there. We get that. Y'all know how that goes. And you can also go check out, if you ever want to see where your money goes, you want to see if you donated $1 or $2 or $5 and you want to see it in action for the Love Alive charity, go to Pope TV. Yes, I got plenty of stuff over there on Pope TV on YouTube, but the charity is there as well. You can see the hundreds of people lined up all the way around the block, 400 people just lined up, waiting for a hot meal and a chance to maybe get some clothes or a pair of shoes or whatever. So, and of course, be sure to watch me on NWA Power on Fight TV. It's only $5 a month. Most of us spend more than that. $5 a month, was that $55 a year, 60, whatever. We spend more than that on the weekend. Don't stop telling NWA you want them back on YouTube, because we all got to get paid. We all got to make a living. And I think the product is well worth that, if not more, obviously, but it's well worth the $5 a month.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, definitely check out the NWA on Fight. Pope, thank you so much for all the time today. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and thank you again for supporting Pope, having me on, and for supporting the charity.